Thrag has defined gender-affirming care, or at least the trans kids thing. So, kids thinking they're the opposite gender, like a boy thinking he's a girl or thinking she's a boy, and their parents encouraging that when it could be a phase. The kid's brain is creating in their underdeveloped brain. Second disagreement with the whole... Oh, this is a run-on sentence, I see. Second disagreement with the whole transgender-affirming care, giving a kids drugs that stop their brain body from naturally developing. Okay, cool. Let's start with the first one. Let's start with the first one. Kids thinking they're the opposite gender. So I have a question. What was a trans adult before the age of 18? What was that person before the age of 18?
I have a question. I'm assuming this person is a man, because
probably
statistically, that seems like a reasonable assumption. So at what age did you first realize you were a man or a boy? Like, were you told by an adult, or did you just feel that? Because...
I'm going to paste this into our chat so that I don't lose it, so that I can scroll down and see the next parts of the chat so I don't lose what was said. But, again, if you've ever listened to said not going to indulge your gaslighting fantasy weirdos, okay, cool. So here's what I got from that thread. Here's what I got from it. Also, it's really funny that your name is that of a genocidal dictator who killed plenty of planets and invincible. But, that said, I think it's really funny. I think it's entirely funny that when you professed your ideology and then you were pressed on your ideology by two people who have done research into how to be correct about this conversation, you have decided to say, I'm not going to indulge your gaslighting fantasy. First of all, gaslighting is a word that implies that we are trying to tell you that reality is not what you know it to be, and we are trying to make you go insane as a result of it. I don't think either of us are trying to do that. We could actually hand you the studies that back up our opinions. Likewise, you probably can't show us peer-reviewed studies that are in accredited journals that back up your opinion. The Discovery Institute doesn't count.
Neither does the rapid onset gender dysphoria study, because if you actually read the methods section of that one, it is very obviously trash. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Like the CAS report. We don't count the CAS report because if you take the CAS report and you put it under the scrutiny of peer review against the experts who wrote everything else in your set of studies, you are going to find holes upon holes upon holes in the CAS report. Now, for the second disagreement, gender-affirming care, giving kids a drug that stops their brain or body from naturally developing.
Can I talk to this one?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a child that is going through this process, or will be shortly. So the drugs that you put kids on are, generally speaking, the younger kids, it would be what's called puberty blockers. Puberty blockers are reversible. Now, there has been some evidence that being on puberty blockers for a long time, like into your 20s, when starting before you're 10, that you can have decreased bone density if you've been on them for that long. There is also evidence to suggest that that's actually, it's not got anything to do with the puberty blockers. I forget what the other thing is, but like, that is the main concern with puberty blockers, is decrease of bone density. Aside from that, absolutely everything it does is completely reversible. So what puberty blockers do is it takes this kid who, yes, might just be going through a phase, and it says, okay, well, let's hold off on puberty until we can figure out whether it's just a phase or whether you're actually trans. Mm-hmm. Because yes, it is normal for kids to experiment with different, like putting on different genders as just play. That is a normal thing that kids do. And so, no, we don't want to do permanent things to kids. And that includes making them go through the wrong puberty. And if the wrong puberty is the one that their body is going to do without medical intervention, then we do medical intervention to delay that until we know for sure.
Again, this is one of those situations where we are actually on the same side. If you are on the same side of trying your best not to harm children, if you are on the side of trying to make sure that we do our proper research and due diligence so that kids cannot get hurt, then we are actually on the same side. But there are particulars about the side that you disagree on, I am assuming, due to a lack of research. And because it is about children, and human beings, by our very nature, typically, get very, very worked up about kids. It is our protective nature. As a unit, we want to defend children because deep, deep in the back of our brains, we know that once we die, they carry on everything for us, so we need to keep them around. That's how our brains work. Even if you're not a father or a mother, it's usually a lot stronger if you're a father or a mother, but all of us want to protect children. We do not want them harmed. So, we should be on the same side. The side that has research behind it and does not harm children should be on that side. But we're not.
I can also tell you from personal experience, if you are concerned about parents pushing gender ideology on kids, there are people that are no longer in our lives because the youngest, who is by all appearances trans, they have said, no, we are not going to respect that. We are only going to engage with her if we can treat her as though she is a boy and make her dress in boys' clothes and use her boy's name and refer to her with he, him pronouns. So they are the people pushing gender ideology on this kid are the ones saying, no, we refuse to do anything to do with you unless you conform to the gender expectations that we have. It's not me. So if she turns around tomorrow and is like, hey, yeah, I'm a boy again, then I'm like, great.
You just accept that that's what their opinion is, and you go forward.
Because they're kids. Like, she's been so consistent with it that at this point, I'm like, no, she's trans. There's just no, like, it's been so consistent. But if she were to turn around and be like, no, I'm a boy again, I was like, okay, I accept you for who you are. And I am not pushing anything on her.
The way that this works in most scenarios, there are always exceptions in everything medical, mind. So if you find the one instance where this is not the case, congratulations. You have decided never to have a sane conversation with a human being because you want to find an exception to every rule to say there are no rules.
Bring it back to the circumcision thing where, like, yeah, it's completely pointless in 99% of cases, but there's 1% where it's medically useful, therefore the 99% are okay. It's the same thing. So
the way that gender-affirming care works, the current accepted method, and I know that there are some changes that are happening to this in the field. I'm not an expert in this field. I study enough to be right about it. And I'm willing to be arrogant about this one because it is one of the ones I've read a lot on. And fun thing, I have a very fun video about autogynephilia for anybody that wants to try to make that claim.
Saw that. Yeah.
Where I actually went into the studies that were in the favor of the guy who argued for autogynephilia and found that 93% of women actually carry every single one of those traits as well, so the term is fucking pointless. It's useless in every way, shape, and form. But anyway, the way gender-affirming care works for children is we do what's called a social transition up until the age of about 12 or 13. And a social transition is, quite frankly, you can wear different clothes. That's it. That's what a social transition is. You can wear different clothes.
She goes by a different name and different pronouns.
Yeah, cool. That's fine. It doesn't harm anybody. It is literally a person saying, yeah, I'm going to try on this different identity for a little bit and see how it works. By the way, this is how every human being works with everything.
Hey, cis kids do it too. Have you ever encountered a kid that has a nickname?
Correct. Have you ever made a name for yourself on a website? But, okay, after puberty, and we have to wait until puberty starts. This is actually the medically recommended thing to do. Once puberty has started, then puberty blockers can be used. And puberty blockers can be utilized for, at maximum, about 5 years. That's about the length we can do. So let me ask you the math on this. If person is getting into puberty around 12 or 13, and they are on puberty blockers for 5 years, what age are they at the time we have to take them off puberty blockers? What age are we looking at? We're looking at the age where they can drive a fucking steel death machine and kill somebody on the fucking highway. That's the age that they have to get off the puberty blockers when we allow them to drive fucking cars. So, once we are at that stage, then a question is presented. Do you still feel this way, or do you want to go through a standard puberty? And
I hate to disagree, Cyrus, but it's I know you didn't mean this, but the way that came across, it could be seen as like there is no medical follow-up in that 5 years? Just like you're now on puberty blockers for this long.
Yeah,
and then at the end of it, how do you feel now? And
No,
it's like,
there's
we're checking in all
follow-up,
throughout.
there's checkups like every few months during this, like with anything with a psychiatric medication. But at the end of those 5 years, or whenever it is decided that you come off of puberty blockers, once you get down to that point, the question is had, do you want to go through with your standard biological puberty, or would you like to go through the other puberty? And if you decide to go through the other one, we don't do any surgeries. We can't do any surgeries, actually. You have to go on HRT at that point, when you're at the ripe old age of 16 to 18. Again, the age where we let people drive steel death machines that can fucking kill a person on the highway. If we're at that
Where we
stage,
let you enlist in the army and kill people with a gun.
yeah, like if we're at that stage, you can handle a fucking drug at that point. So, once you're at that point, here's what happens. You have to be on HRT for 1 to 2 years before any surgeries are allowed, and that's even assuming that a surgery can even be approved for you. The reason is, let's say it's top surgery. Let's say you want boobies and you were assigned male at birth. You want boobies now. There is a chance that on HRT, you will end up with fucking double Ds.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you got breast implants beforehand, you will end up with the most severely misshapen things in your chest. That's not what any doctor wants, because that is not going to actually help you in any way, shape, or form. So they have to let you reach the end stage of that second puberty before they will allow you to engage in top surgery. Now, would any of you like to ask why I know this? It's not just because of my research, it's because my partner's going in for top surgery in a couple of months. So I know this from actual first-hand experience. Not just because I read an article on the internet, but because this is the life I live. That's so weird. As for bottom surgery, same thing. Did you know that if somebody who's assigned male at birth is on HRT, then I will quote my editor K Fox, on E too long, PP too small. That should give you an idea of what happens. So this is because when the hormones in the body are adjusted to that of female hormones, guess what? The part of the body that forms the penis is the same part of the body that forms a clit. So the penis starts to regress into something that is far more accurate to be called a clitoris. Likewise, when you have somebody who's assigned female at birth, if they are on HRT, they are going to go through the opposite of this, where they are going to get what's called an engorged clitoris, and it is going to start resembling a penis a lot more. It does not go all the way, because again, if you have gone through your puberty, if you've gone through all this stuff, then there is a likelihood that there is still some work that will need to be done at this point. Oh, by the way, that's when bottom surgery might happen. That is if you can actually get approved for it. But again, like with any surgery at this point, they need to see what your body's going to look like after it's adjusted to hormones before they can do anything, because just as an example, let's say they did penile inversion for you, which is not the main one that is used now. Pull through is what's used now mostly, but let's say that that's the one that's used. It would be really awkward if you had that canal shrink, just as an example. Now again, I'm not an expert. I don't know if that's exactly what would happen, but that is a consideration that a doctor has to go through. Likewise, if they're doing the inversion, they have to give you electrolysis on the penis so that you don't have hair inside you, because that's not healthy. So, fun thing, I've done a lot of research into this because this is, again, the life that I live with the partner that I have. I know this entire process. From the moment of starting to the moment of ending.
Before you were knitted together in your mother's womb, he knew you. Okay, so that's enough dealing with this comment guy. We got to get through these articles because I pulled too many.
Sure thing. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitt, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.